nice white loaf, you will need 500 grams of strong white flour, or brown, or wholemeal, 1 sachet of bread yeast, equals about 1 tablespoon if you haven't got a sachet, but it comes in the tubs like these. 1 teaspoon of salt. Notice I put some extra side so we don't mix them. We'll then mix these in, give them a nice mix, get the yeast and salt mixed within the flour. Then we make a nice little hollow in the middle where we will add 320 grams of water. Never add the full amount, leave some back just in case. Depending on your flour, the amount of water can vary. We'll then mix in, just using a spoon to start with. As you can see, it's a little dry, so add more water. A little water goes a long way at this stage. Do not overwater, otherwise it ends up a nice sloppy mess and it's hard to pull back. It's a good mix. Add the rest of the water. And get a little bit more. I think it needs a little bit more, this flour. A good tip when you're buying flour, get nice strong white flour, organic if you can, but you can get some really good flour from your supermarket. Let's as you can see, that's getting nice and stuck together. A little harder to mix, just a touch more water. Probably added too much now. Like I say, a little bit goes a long way. Right, I'm thinking about getting my hands in there to give it a good thorough mix. If you've got a bread whisk in your machine, as you can see how easily that went wet. But if it gets to this stage where it does get a little wet, it's so easy, like I've just done. I think it's not too bad. Give it a good mix. Just be able to hold it without it running off. It's a little tacky, as you can see from my fingers. You want it at a stage where it sticks to your fingers just slightly, so it's just tacky and not horrible and sticky like it has for me. I'll just get a little bit more flour. Excuse me. Just a little bit flour, the spoonful over the top. We'll see how that goes. Mix it in. As you can see, it's harder to get it back than it is to add more water. That's coming nicely now, as you can see, getting nice and doughy. Never worry about these things, just get on with it. There we go. As you can see, nicely sticking together without it sticking to me too much. Just nice and tacky. And I've got loads stuck on my hands from before. Right. And there we go. First stage done. as you can see, I'm just going to drop that in my bowl to rise. This is the first stage of bread making. Didn't take much time, apart from I made a bit of a mess. Let's get some of that off. Leave it in your bowl. Now I'll cover it over and leave that for about an hour to 2 hours, depending on the temperature of the room. And I can go off now and do the other things. Back in a bit. So it's been about an hour and a half, and as you can see, the dough has risen more than doubled in size. Now we need to, first thing, I'll just move that over the one side, bring in the flour. I'm going to put a bit of flour down on your surface, make sure the surface is totally clean. And your hands, of course. Now we need to take this dough out and put it on there, which you can use a spatula, just use your hands if you wish. I have this little device here. Which I'm going to just scrape round, just to loosen it off there and drop it out. Onto the table to get any last little bits out. And we'll move that to one side. So as you can see, the dough has risen nicely, and now what we're going to do is knock it back. So just press the air out of it and start kneading. Now, I often get asked, how long should we knead bread for? A friend of mine, the bread witch, Julie, says that stick a song on and have a good sing. When the song has finished, then it's all done. So about 3 minutes to 5 minutes. The more you knead it, the better the bread will be. It's actually quite a workout, and there's different ways of kneading. Stretching it, pulling it in, stretching it, pulling it in, or just kneading like I like to just pull it, push it down, stretch it, roll over, stretch it. Just get the flour on my hand. Let's get all that yeast and flour all mixed together, no dry spots. I'll keep doing this for about 3 to 5 minutes. So it's been about 3 minutes. If you needed to add more flour onto the table, or whatever you've got it on, as long as it's not on the carpet, all over yourself, add some flour. So, as you can see, lovely ball of dough. And that's how it should look. Okay? Stretch it out, just fingers round, pushing it in underneath, and a lovely ball. And that's what we should be looking at, okay? Right, now you can then put it in your bread tin, which you should lightly grease if you're using a bread tin. There's also the silicone moulds, which I quite like because one thing with them, the bread doesn't stick like it can in the metal one. Or just stick it on a baking tray like that and let it rise. So I'm going to be using the silicone mould. Let's get this back off the table. Just going to reshape it a little bit in length and drop it in. So 3 minutes work, all nicely set. Cover it over and let it rise, and off to fetch the kids from school. See you in a minute. Right, as you can see, my dough has doubled in size. If I let it grow much more, it's going to go over the side. So it's time to heat the oven up to 200 degrees. I will then place it in the oven and leave it on 200 degrees for 15 minutes. Then turn it down to 170 for 30 minutes. I'll write these instructions in the comments underneath. So I will get that done and we will see how it turns out and have a lovely loaf of bread with hardly any effort at all. So there we go, one loaf of bread. Let's tip it out. As you can see, with the silicone ones, they just drop out nicely. But you'll notice with the silicone ones, they don't keep the shape. But who cares? I don't need a perfectly shaped loaf like you do in the tins. So, it's a nice big loaf. To tell if it's done, tap the bottom. Should sound hollow. And it's hot, so put it on a cooling rack or just like that and let it cool. In about an hour's time you'll have lovely warm bread that you can slap loads of butter on, and your kids will love it for the tea, I assure you. So there you go, nice and easy, inexpensive. You can get 3 loaves per bag of flour, and the flour from a supermarket you can get it for like £1. So have fun, try it yourself and enjoy.